Hello and welcome to the Black Crow Gaming Tactics video. This is another Adeptus Custodes video and I am your host Arron. And this week we are going to be talking about meta smashing combos. The type of combos that will do huge amounts of damage or be hugely durable. Ones that can go into any meta and do well. Something we need to consider considering the current meta changes that always seem to be happening whilst playing Warhammer 40,000. Well, at least every sort of 3 months or whenever they release the next broken codex. Death Guard. Well, we can only hope that gets toned down. But before we get into it, let's talk about my wonderful sponsors. We are sponsored by Terrain Forge. They do bespoke terrain, high quality MDF terrain. And if you just put in BCG, you can get an additional 5% off slash. And if you want to go for Glasshammer as well, as you just saw at the beginning, if you put in Black Crow, you get an additional 5% off from Glasshammer. And then we have our newest sponsor, Trident Futureworks. They are a case design company who will not only provide you with great magnetic cases that look good, they'll also put your logo or army logo on the side sprayed as well, which just looks French kiss. Anyway, before we get into any further, I just want to also just say a massive thank you to everyone who's been watching the channel. If you could please remember to like, subscribe, all of those things, that would be really helpful. And if you really feel cheeky and spicy, a little super thanks would be amazing, because anything donated to the channel just helps us grow to get better stuff. Anyway, let's move on to it. So, meta smashing combo. So let's just talk about what meta means once more. So what is the meta? It's a term known as a metagame, okay? It refers to the current state of the competitive game, and it consistently changes every 3 months as new rules and points of the games get updated. So that kind of gives you an overview. And what that refers to is strong armies, list builds, or particular strategy, for example, like fast-moving armies with lots of scoring units. That could be the current meta build. Like Custodes, the current meta build is Wardens. However, we would one day... that may change. So the big thing that I like to tell everybody is you need to know your enemy. You need to get reps into other factions. Even if you're losing, you're learning. And that means when you go to a tournament, you'll probably play better because you'll rep into that faction, and then you may play someone who's not as good as your buddy with them or might be better. But at least you'll know what they're doing. At least you'll know what to avoid and how to mitigate stuff, which is important. So understanding your breakpoints as an army and your damage potential, detachments like Shield Host and Lions dramatically increase the damage output, and that's worth knowing. Custodes can struggle into armies who can deal damage in multiple phases. That's true. We do not like to be damaged in both shooting and also combat, because then we just start dropping like flies. We need to be able to have some breathing space, some room to breathe, so that we can come in and do some damage of our own. And it's important to understand like where that damage comes from. So if it's from your Calgar brick that's about to charge you, then you need to kind of try and mitigate that by positioning units that you don't mind losing, or can potentially tank it and slash back. We'll talk about that in my combos. So, combo 1. This is combos I enjoy. The Solar Spearhead. It's the Blade Champion with the Adamantine Talisman. Now, this is spicy. Really spicy. You know I love a good ute, but this is spicy. So, improves the attack, strength, and damage characteristic of melee weapon by 1. That makes his dev wound profile 6 attacks, flat AP 3, flat 4 damage. Dev wounds, which is huge if that goes into the right target. It can one pop most things. Very strong, very durable, and I really highly rate it. But that also adds on to his other profiles, where it gets like 7 attacks at AP2, flat 3 damage, or you go into his which is precision, so you'll be just absolutely smashing characters, or the other one, which is like 10 attacks, AP1, strength 5 or 6, something along those lines, and 2 damage, is a marine killer. This is an amazing combination to have, because it just brings your model into having this incredible stat line of damage, and nobody in the game wants to be charged by that. No one, because it will destroy whatever it touches. So it's important you put it with some friends. get it with 4 or 5 wardens, as you're probably expecting. It makes them insane. The damage output from that blade champion can just be huge if it pops off. So it's terrifying when they can advance and charge, and we all love a hoot. But there is that caveat: is in solo you're probably only going to be taking this one unit, so you're going to want to center stage them, okay? Because then that basically makes it a no charge zone or a no come at me zone for your opponent, because they just know they're going to probably die if they put anything valuable towards you. So combo 2 shield host, and I like this. It's one large captain or a shield captain on Dawn Eagle with the Panoptis specs. Now, what's cool about this is that it gives you ignores cover. It is only 5 points, and actually it makes that your shooting output is quite high. Now, think of it like this. Both of these have like either twin linked or reroll wounds into vehicles or monsters and character units. But it's about being AP1 or AP3 if you're taking the missiles. But as soon as you start ignoring cover, it feels like it's AP2 or AP4, if that makes sense. You're either pushing stuff onto their invul, or you're really making it highly likely to get some damage through. So it just increases that damage potential quite exponentially. Now, in Shield Host, this gets even better when you put it with the stratagem for either lethal or sustained. Now, depending on your target and the amount of dice you roll and the amount you have in the unit, this could really pop off and you end up with a really spicy shooting phase. So, for example, you can have up to 7 Terminators in that one unit. If they just drop down and go, here you go, blast, grenades, and shoot everything, that's all of a sudden something crazy, like potential of like 40, 50 attacks with sustained or lethals at AP1, ignoring cover, flat 2 damage, reroll on wounds. That's a lot of damage, which is spicy, but unfortunately, it's a lot of points. But it's still good. If you go to the bikes, on the other hand, you could do that. Obviously, in most cases, you're probably going to want to take sustained for the missiles or lethals. It's not as valuable because you're only getting 4 shots on the missiles, but on the hurricanes, you're getting quite a lot. And again, that's where those lethals and sustain come really in value. It's just a huge damage output increase. So the ones we all know about: Lions, Talons, Shield Hosts, etc., Inquisitors, and Guard. Now, when I say about Guard, I mean Custodian Guard. And when I say about Inquisitors, I mean Draxus and the Standard Inquisitor. And the reason that is because they do an awful lot of dev wound output. They have access to a huge dev wound potential through the double shoot ability. But actually, Inquisitors are 55 points. And Draxus is 95 points. So actually, the Inquisitors become quite a lot more affordable. They have that flamer ability, so that could pop off. And next thing you know, you're doing quite a lot of dev wounds. They are only 1 dev wound, whereas Draxus is like 2 anti-infantry. But you could see where it could go really well. And with those re-rolls, it can spike and cause just huge damage. You've then got grenades on top of that. So actually, these units could go off and quite easily kill light vehicles, medium vehicles, and it's really nice. What I also like about the Inquisitors is that ability to recycle CP. So on a 3+, it just recycles the CP. So if you use a CP, say to give it sustained in Lions, or say you want to do sticky, or say you want to reactive move, or X, Y, and Z. There's lots of ways. Increase the strength of the weapon, like in Talons. You then just you want to be using that ability to try and recycle that CP. So because Adeptus Custodes, we rely on CP, so it could be really strong. So it ends up with this solid damage output, and I really like that. Something I think you should try is double Inquisitor, double Guard, and ignore Draxus, but go for that combination, because then all of a sudden you've got quite a high damage dealing shooting output. Combo 4, this is an interesting one. So it's a Solar Spearhead. It's a Telemon Dreadnought with the Augury Uplink. Now, Telemons don't really do a lot of damage, but what they are is very durable, and that comes from their 2-up, 4-up, and then they have this ability for -1 damage. Now, there's the stratagem to be able to do the -1 to wound if their strength is above my toughness, which makes the Telemon Dreadnought really strong, because Augury Uplink gives you a 5 plus field of pain. So all of a sudden, the Dreadnought is just hanging around. You're probably not going to kill it in one activation unless multiple things go for it, and it means it can then push the middle board quite efficiently. and it is quite good. It's got an OC6 when it's unwounded, goes down to OC4, but its damage output is low. I mean, its gun, if you're taking like the fist and the gun and the spiculus and the flamer, you're probably just from shooting going to get a maximum 4 damage, which is really low. And then if you get them in combat, you're lucky, so you get 3 through on most things. You might then only potentially get, at best you're causing like 6 damage from the fist. It's really not there to do the damage. It sometimes pops off and sometimes will do a lot of damage, but more often than not it's not going to. And I think there's other builds in solar which can do mass damage really quickly, and I think actually the way the meta's going, armies are going into a kind of not overly durable but extremely deadly phase, and I think that's something we should consider. Lions of the Emperor for Combo 5 is the shield captain with Adamant Immortus. Makes him insane. It improves the AP and damage by 1 and strength by 3, giving him a damage 4, AP 2, strength 12 axe, which is just wild. Yeah, you can run him as a solo, or you can run him in a small squad, and I just think you just efficiently kill most things. It's a really scary for your opponent to be able to face, because you're basically going in, you go 2s, AP2, flat 4 damage. How many can you save? And with the reroll to wounds as well, it just pops off. You've got your sustained and lethals as well. It's really strong. And if you back that with a squad, he's going to be lasting a little bit longer. There is other characters you can use that on. You can use it on a shield captain on a bike, for example, to make it like a really fast damage dealing unit. That's like, all of a sudden they become strength 10, AP 3, flat 3 damage. Pretty tasty, pretty consistent, probably going to do a lot of damage. But as I said, I like that as a combo. It's really nice, and again, it can be run in multiple with like lots of different shield captains, or I just think Yolaris is the best version of it. So I just want you to encourage you to experiment. It's really easy for us to go out there and just do 15 wardens for 3 blade champs, and that is unfortunately the meta. But use tools like TTS to experiment with lists. Units do get forgotten, and I think it's just really important that we try and remember those units. Try and get them involved in play, try and just experiment, because your metas may be different depending on where you are. And it's been a bit of a shorter video today. I just wanted to kind of highlight some cool combos. If you like these, just put in the comments your combos. Tell me what you think. That'd be really interesting to see. And maybe I'll do another video where we do like less known combos, but combos nonetheless, which could just be fun to play. Not necessarily going to break the meta, but going to be really good. These ones at the minute, I think, are really good into the meta because they do a lot of damage, or they're durable. And I think it's something that probably a combo that you're going to see in just about every list out there, which, from here, of some description. I mean, we all know Blade Champion Wardens, Advance and Charge. We get it. We know it. Everybody in the whole game knows that's our play style. But there are other things we can do to mix it up. And actually, knowledge is key. And if your opponent doesn't see these combos, they might not respect it. And if they don't respect it, they're vulnerable to it. And remember that. So I've been Arron. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. And I'll be back next week when the field manual might drop, and we'll be able to talk about new points and data slate changes. So let's go from there. See you guys later.